If you work on a team that spans the globe, especially between the US and India, you absolutely know the feeling, right? Twice a year, it's like clockwork. Everything on the calendar just goes haywire. Meetings get missed, schedules are a total mess, and everyone's left asking, wait, what just happened? Well, today, we are going to decode the chaos of daylight saving time once and for all.
All right, let's jump right in. Here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about that all-too-familiar problem. Then, we'll break down what daylight saving time, or DST, actually is. After that, we'll see exactly how it messes with your meetings, give you a super simple survival kit, and finally, we're gonna look at the human side of all this, something called time resentment.
So let's kick things off with a scenario that I bet is going to feel painfully familiar. You've gotten ready for your big weekly sync, you log on at the usual time, and crickets. You're greeted with total silence. This, my friends, is the phantom meeting, and it's where our story begins. Well, if you're a team member in India, this is the classic red flag that the clocks have changed somewhere else on the planet. Your colleagues in the US? Oh, they've already had the meeting and signed off an hour ago. And it's all because of a 1-hour shift that India doesn't even observe. This right here is the fundamental problem we're going to solve today. Okay, so to make sure this never ever happens to you again, we've got to understand the root cause. What in the world is this system that just loves to throw a wrench in our global schedules? Let's get a clear definition. So, at its heart, the idea is pretty simple. It's designed to give people an extra hour of daylight in the evenings during the warmer months. But, and this is the really important part, not every country does it. Heck, not even every part of every country does it. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. The United States is basically a moving target on the clock, changing its time twice a year. Meanwhile, India's time? It's constant. It stays the same all year round. It's this one fundamental difference that causes all the headaches for virtual teams.
So these are the two key dates you need to have on your radar. In March, folks in the US spring forward and lose an hour of sleep. Then in November, they fall back and get that hour back. Just remembering that little phrase, spring forward, fall back, is honestly half the battle.
All right, now for the really practical part. What does this 1-hour jump actually look like for that recurring meeting you have with your US team? You know, the one that's always at 9 a.m. their time?
Okay, now check this out, because this is where it can feel a little counterintuitive. In March, when the US springs forward, the time difference between the two countries actually shrinks by an hour. So for the team in India, that same 9 a.m. meeting in the US suddenly jumps an hour earlier, from 7:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m.
And you know what? This is often the change that teams in India actually prefer. I mean, an earlier meeting means you wrap up your workday sooner, you get home to your family sooner. It's kind of the silver lining of that springtime change. But then November rolls around. When the US falls back, the time difference goes right back to 10.5 hours. And that same 9 a.m. meeting in the US? Yep, it shifts back to that later 7:30 p.m. slot in India, making for a longer workday all over again. Okay, so at this point you get the what and the why. But the real question is, how do you make sure you never, ever miss that shift again? Well, here is a simple, totally foolproof toolkit that's going to keep you on track. First things first, trust your digital calendar. Seriously, Google Calendar, Outlook, they're really smart and they'll usually handle the change automatically. But for that extra peace of mind, a quick Google search is your absolute best friend. Just type time in New York or wherever your team is. And if you're planning a bunch of meetings, a dedicated website like timeanddate.com can be a real lifesaver. And hey, if all else fails, just remember this one golden rule. If you are ever in doubt after one of these time changes, just show up early. It's a simple little strategy that has never, ever failed. But look, this whole thing isn't just about logistics and calendar invites. It goes a lot deeper than that. When one team is constantly the one that has to work odd hours, it can lead to a very real, very human issue. It's called time zone resentment. It's that slow-building frustration, you know? That creeping feeling that your team is always the one making the sacrifice, always staying late or waking up super early. And that fatigue, that stress, it can really wear down morale and hurt collaboration if you don't tackle it with some empathy. So what's the solution? Well, it's all about shared responsibility. It's a two-way street. A little bit of proactive communication from both sides can go such a long way. US teams can be flexible, maybe offer to start their day earlier sometimes. And teams in India can speak up, suggest rotating schedules. It's all about turning a scheduling problem into a real conversation about fairness and mutual respect.
You see, in the end, mastering the DST shift is about so much more than just showing up to a meeting on time. It's a chance to communicate better, to show some genuine empathy for your colleagues, and to build a stronger, more connected global team. It's not just about managing the clock, it's about truly valuing each other's time.